The oil lamp flickered against the log walls, its flame trembling like it sensed something wrong. Eleanor sat rigid on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap, shoulders tight as wire. It was their wedding night, summer of 1868, inside a small cabin on the Kansas frontier. The night should have been gentle, hopeful. But instead, it cracked at the seams. Sam reached for her, slow and steady, the way a man approaches a skittish horse. He'd been a widower for 10 years, long enough for loneliness to settle in his bones. Eleanor, only 21, had arrived 3 days earlier as his mail-order bride. She'd barely spoken since stepping off the wagon. Now, as Sam leaned closer, she whispered the words that stopped him cold. "It hurts. It's my first time." Her voice trembled. Her whole body trembled. Sam sat back, brows drawn. She wasn't shy, she was terrified. Then he saw them. Faded bruises, old and yellowing, climbed up her arms like a map of past suffering. Some were months old. Some older. His rough rancher's hands, hands that had roped wild cattle and dug graves and built fences, suddenly felt unbearably heavy. "Who did this to you?" he asked, his voice barely above a breath. Eleanor's eyes filled instantly. Not with soft tears, but with years of buried pain breaking loose all at once. She wrapped the blanket around herself, curling into a small shaking shape. "My stepfather," she whispered at last. "Cyrus Bennett. After my mama died, he—" She couldn't finish. She didn't need to. Sam had seen war. He'd buried friends. He'd watched men die in ways no one deserved. But this was a different breed of evil. His blood turned to ice, then to fire. "How long?" he asked. 5 years, she said. "I tried to fight at first. But fighting made it worse. I just survived. When I saw your advertisement in the newspaper, I knew it was my only way out." Sam stood, walked to the wash basin, soaked a cloth, and came back. He didn't touch her. He just sat close enough that she could feel his steadiness. "Listen to me real careful," he said softly. "You're safe here. I didn't bring you to Kansas to hurt you. I wanted a partner, not someone to fear me. So we're gonna take this slow. As slow as you need." Eleanor met his gaze, fragile but brave. She nodded. "Tonight," Sam continued, "you take the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. Tomorrow, we start fresh as friends." For the first time since arriving in Kansas, she smiled. Faint, cracked at the edges, but real. "Deal," she whispered. Sam lay on the hard floor that night, staring up at the ceiling, wondering what kind of monster could lay hands on a defenseless girl for 5 long years, and what Sam would do if that monster showed up at his ranch. Morning came with the smell of coffee and bacon. Eleanor wrapped a blanket around herself and stepped into the small cabin kitchen. Sam stood at the stove, humming off-key as he flipped bacon in a cast-iron skillet. "You didn't have to cook," she murmured. Sam shrugged. "You didn't have to marry an old mule like me, either. So we're even." He slid a plate in front of her. "Eat. We've got chores." Over the next weeks, life settled into a rhythm she'd never known. Sam taught her how to milk their temperamental cow, Bessie, who kicked like she had a personal grudge against mankind. He showed her how to ride his gentlest mare, Daisy, who tolerated new riders only if they bribed her with apples. He never raised his voice. Never reached for her in anger. Never rushed. At dusk, he set up bottles on the fence and placed his spare revolver in her hands. The first shots shook her to her core. But Sam kept at her side, calm and patient. 2 weeks later, she could knock a bottle off the post at 20 feet. Little by little, the flinching stopped. One hot afternoon, while they mended fence wire under the merciless sun, Eleanor burst into unexpected laughter. Sam glanced over, confused. "What's funny?" he asked. You, she laughed. You just cursed that fence post like it insulted your mother. Sam grinned. Maybe it did. Stubborn things run in the family. That night, when they returned to the cabin, Eleanor hesitated before speaking. You can sleep on the bed, she said, voice barely above a whisper. I trust you. Sam nodded. Only if you're sure. I'm sure. They lay on opposite sides of the mattress, 2 feet of space between them. But around midnight, her hand drifted across the sheets until her fingers brushed his. Sam didn't move, didn't speak. He simply held her hand gently, as if it were something sacred. 2 weeks later, on a warm August night, Eleanor kissed him for the first time, not out of duty, but desire. What followed was careful, patient, and nothing like the terror of her past. When she cried afterward, Sam knew these tears were different. Thank you, she whispered. For being patient. Sam kissed her forehead. Thank you for giving a tired old man a second shot at something real. But peace never lasts long on the frontier. 400 miles away in Ohio, Cyrus Bennett read a letter with his stepdaughter's name on it. And the fury that twisted his face promised trouble. Late October arrived with a cutting wind. Eleanor was hanging laundry when she heard wagon wheels on the road. She looked up, and the blanket slipped from her hands. Cyrus Bennett climbed down, wearing the same cruel sneer she'd seen 100 times. Beside him sat Sheriff Clayton, a weary lawman who had clearly been fed a bottle of whiskey and a well-crafted lie. There she is, Cyrus called. My runaway stepdaughter. The thief. Eleanor's throat tightened. Her hands began to shake again. The sheriff tipped his hat. Ma'am, this man claims you fled Ohio with his horse and left debts behind. I'm here to hear both sides. Debts? Eleanor whispered. That's what he calls care, Cyrus interrupted smoothly. I fed her. Clothed her. Kept her after her mama died. She owes me $500 for those years. Before Eleanor could speak, hoofbeats thundered across the yard. Sam rode in fast, dismounted, and walked toward the men with a jaw tight enough to split granite. Get off my land, he said. Quiet. Dangerous. This is between me and my daughter, Cyrus snapped. Stepdaughter, Sam corrected. And she's my wife now. Legal. Papers filed in Abilene. You've got no claim. Cyrus smirked. She still owes me. Show them, Sam said suddenly, turning to Eleanor. Eleanor froze. Sam, no. Show them, he repeated gently. With trembling fingers, she unbuttoned her sleeve and rolled it up, revealing the scars. Sheriff Clayton stared long and hard. His face drained of color. 5 years, Eleanor said, her voice strengthening. 5 years of his care. Sheriff Clayton looked at Cyrus with disgust. Mr. Bennett, I suggest you turn that wagon around and ride back to Ohio before I send a wire to your hometown judge. Beating a girl is a crime in this county. Cyrus sputtered. Those scars could be anything. Sam stepped closer. Farm accidents don't leave marks like that on a girl locked indoors. Try another lie. The sheriff spat into the dirt. You've got 1 hour to leave. Cyrus climbed into his wagon, but the look he shot Eleanor could have poisoned a well. This ain't over. But it was not over, not yet. That night, around 2 in the morning, Eleanor woke to shattering glass. Sam reached for his shotgun. Stay here, he whispered. But Eleanor recognized the heavy footstep on the porch. She'd heard it before every beating. No, she said. This is my fight. Before Sam could protest, she grabbed his spare revolver. Her hands did not shake. She opened the door. Cyrus stood there, drunk, armed, furious, until he saw the gun in her hand. You, he scoffed. You don't have the spine. You're right, she said. I didn't. But I do now. Sam appeared behind her with his shotgun. She means it, Cyrus. And if she misses? I won't. For the first time, fear flickered in Cyrus Bennett's eyes. Slow as winter, he lowered his weapon. You'll regret this, he spat. The only thing I regret, Eleanor said, is not stopping you sooner. Cyrus mounted his horse and rode into the darkness. Eleanor stood shaking, and when her knees buckled, Sam caught her. It's over, he whispered. This time it's truly over. And it was. A year later, in the summer of 1869, the ranch was thriving. Eleanor sat on a wooden bench outside the cabin, belly round with their first child, eyes bright with a peace she had never known in Ohio. Sam came in from the fields and collapsed beside her. She kissed him, slow and warm. How you feeling? Sam asked, resting his head on her stomach. Like I'm carrying your stubbornness, she laughed. Months later, a note arrived from Sheriff Clayton. Rumor had it Cyrus Bennett had been killed in a bar fight back in Ohio. Maybe true, maybe not. But for Eleanor, he died the night she stood on that porch with a gun in her hand. Sam looked at her, the woman she'd become, strong and brave, and felt something he thought he'd lost long ago, hope. Because their story proved something simple and powerful. It's never too late to start again. And healing is possible, even after the darkest years.